Every arc is a broadcast. Every eruption, a refusal.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping in for what might be our most intensely conceptual analysis yet.
That's putting it lightly.
We are taking a massive leap into this highly specific, almost cryptographic examination of urban decay, and it's focused entirely on Los Angeles. The source material is titled The Saturation Corridor of Collapse.
And this source is a whole world unto itself. It's from Niamey Gaiv, Magazine Baby Vibe, published just days ago, November 12, 2025. And you can tell right away this isn't standard journalism.
Not at all.
It's positioned as a very structured, almost ritualistic deconstruction of systemic failure.
The presentation alone is, well, it's just so strange, which tells you something immediately. You have this incredibly dense, abstract analysis of corruption. And then right there on the page are e-commerce prompts.
Yeah, like free shipping on orders over US $50, wish list, cart icons.
Exactly. It's blending this high-level critique with the very consumer landscape it seems to be diagnosing. It's a very deliberate choice.
That tension is absolutely key. The whole document defines itself as a witness log appended diagnostic glyphs activated. So it's not just asking you to read it.
It's asking you to use it, like a tool.
Exactly, a tool for mapping your own environment.
So our mission today is to decode what this source is really getting at. It frames LA not as a city, but as a, quote, symbolic hub of saturation where corruption, surveillance, and containment converge.
It's an intellectual structure, really. It's built to categorize the stages of urban collapse, treating the city itself like a symptom. It's an ambitious, almost overwhelming premise.
Which brings us to the architect of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Dr. Melvin Sewell, M.Sc, Ph.D. And his title is, well, it's something else. The Academic Dean and Diagnostic Architect at the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies in 9.
I know. It sounds like something from science fiction.
Right. What is an author signaling with a title like that?
I think it signals distance and maybe intentional exaggeration. By calling himself a diagnostic architect at a cosmic university, he's immediately pulling his work out of the realm of, say, conventional policy or political commentary.
He's setting the terms of engagement.
Precisely. He's saying, you need to elevate your thinking to this level to really get what I'm doing here.
Which is critical, because before we even get into the weeds, we have to talk about the source's own disclaimer.
We have to. It's non-negotiable. The whole thing, the articles, the diagnostics, is authored as, and these are his terms, mythic infrastructure, cinematic indictment, and sovereign broadcast.
And the most important part for us, and for you listening, is the neutrality. The author is explicit that the material is not affiliated with any political party, government, or activist group.
Right. We have to view these ideas, these protocols, strictly as diagnostic tools.
Our job here is just analysis. We're looking at the instructions for the wrench, not deciding who or what to fix with it.
We're just trying to understand the system of thought Dr. Sewell is presenting.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's get into the actual mechanics. Section I defines the corridor of corruption. What does this idea of LA as a diagnostic emblem of urban rot really mean?
Well, it means the corruption isn't just, vacuum deals. It's about public relations. It's about leveraging the city's built-in prestige. The key term he uses is weaponized glamour.
Weaponized glamour.
Yeah, the sheen of spectacle masking coordinated erosion. So you have this glittering public face, Hollywood, sports, tech, that actively hides the rot happening just beneath the surface.
So the spectacle is the cover story. The city is famous for its visual output, its movies and shows, and that very thing becomes the main defense mechanism for the actual decay.
It's a genius piece of misdirection.
Okay, so if the glamour is the mask, what's holding up the actual structure of corruption?
That's what he calls the containment architecture. These are the protocols the systems use to enforce that erosion. And Dr. Sewell identifies 3 specific mechanisms that work together.
What are they?
Blacklist, saturate, and misrecognize.
Wow. That triad blacklist, saturate, misrecognize, that sounds like a full spectrum defense. Let's break that down.
Okay, so blacklist is pretty straightforward. It's about identifying and isolating threats, people, groups, ideas, whatever exposes the corruption. It's about exclusion.
Pushing them out.
Right. Then saturate is maybe the most important one. It's about overwhelming the public and the targets with noise, with information overload, or economic pressure, which we'll get to. It makes it impossible to focus on any one critique.
It's the constant fog of crisis, or just the distraction of the next big thing. So if they can't blacklist you, they just drown you out. What about misrecognizes?
That's the ideological distortion. It ensures that even if a critic manages to get through all that noise, it gets framed incorrectly. It's dismissed as irrelevant, or the motives are questioned.
So the system doesn't just ignore the complaint.
No, it absorbs the complaint and redefines it to neutralize it. It stops people from seeing what's actually happening.
Blacklist them, drown them out, or just twist their reality. And the Force argues this isn't just an LA thing, right? This isn't local.
Not at all. This system works through what he calls distributed influence. He's saying that these patterns are echoed across cities and states through shared playbooks. The tactics perfected in LA become templates for other places.
So it's treating LA like a laboratory for urban control, a very effective and very worrying laboratory.
Exactly.
Okay, let's pivot to section 2, which is maybe the most visceral part of this. How this system actually targets the individual.
Right, the targeting cadence. It argues that citizens are intentionally reframed as subjects inside these scripts.
So you're no longer an independent agent with civic power.
No, you're a figure whose actions and status are predetermined and managed by that containment architecture. You're an actor in a script that someone else wrote for you.
What's a primary lever they use to keep these subjects in line?
Economic erosion. And the source is specific here. This isn't just about general hard times. It's about highly specific pressure vectors that destabilize work, housing, and health.
This is where it really lands, I think.
It does, because if you're constantly saturated with crises about your own survival, losing your job, facing eviction, affording health care, your entire capacity for critical thought just gets absorbed by that personal emergency.
It just eliminates the bandwidth for anything else.
Exactly. When your work, your shelter, your health are always under threat, your capacity for what the author calls sovereign clarity it's severely limited.
Sovereign clarity, the ability to see the system for what it is.
And that's the first casualty of economic erosion. The pressure is a deliberate tool used by the system to keep you in that subject status.
And this section has that really memorable, pretty unsettling detail, public shadowing. It describes a stalker-like convergence and actor clustering at transit nodes.
Yes. It paints this picture of pervasive, almost theatrical surveillance, or maybe calculated interference happening right out in the open.
It makes the whole thing feel physical.
It does. It reinforces that cinematic indictment idea. It gives the individual experience a physical form, that feeling that the forces against you aren't just abstract, but they are actively watching you, maneuvering around you. It ensures the subject feels contained.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, moving into section 3. Because if LA is the laboratory, the diagnosis can't just stop at the city limits. This is all about the exported protocols.
Yes. Dr. Sewell argues that the local containment scripts, once they're refined, are immediately deployed as a template broadcast. They get adopted wholesale by what he calls external corridors.
It's not just accidental cultural copying.
No, it's the active dissemination of highly effective control mechanisms.
So how do these playbooks actually travel? I mean, it's not like they're mailing out a manual titled How to Corrupt Your City.
Right, and that's the brilliance of the network effect, as he defines it. The playbooks travel subtly through institutions, media, and culture circuits.
Okay, like what?
Think about bureaucratic training for police or social services, policy think tanks that advise multiple state governments, or even just the narratives in TV and film that normalize certain levels of surveillance or economic precarity.
So LA, as this global media hub, is actively transmitting the scripts, but they're masked by the glamour.
Exactly. The same cultural machine that defines the spectacle is also exporting the playbook of erosion. It turns the city into a global diagnostic tool.
Not because it's unique, but because it's the most effective prototype.
It becomes a mythic resonance. He calls it a glyph. Once it's replicated and enforced globally, understanding the mechanics in LA gives you the framework to spot these tactics anywhere. Berlin, Shanghai, New York, the glyph is universally applicable.
That idea is so powerful that you can diagnose any place using the lexicon developed here. So if the city is this emblem of rot, what is the prescribed response? What does Section 4 offer as the intervention, the sovereign clarity response?
This is where Dr. Sewell moves from diagnosis to intervention. He advises what he calls signal protection protocols. If the system's goal is surveillance and saturation, the individual's response has to be negating that data gathering.
How do you do that in a practical sense?
The steps are explicit. Encrypt identity, rotate nodes, and collapse visibility trails. It means intentionally making the data trail you leave behind unreliable, unpredictable, decentralized.
So if the system relies on a clear signal from its subjects,
You must become digital static. You reclaim your agency in the digital world.
become a digital ghost. Okay, what about the physical world? That containment architecture, the shadowing at transit nodes.
That's where terrain mapping becomes critical. This is the real survival advice. The idea is to identify and codify safe routes for essential needs. Food, hygiene, signal.
So it's an acknowledgement that you're navigating a hostile, surveilled landscape.
Right. And safety isn't found in challenging the structure head-on, but in intelligently mapping and exploiting the gaps in the terrain it has created.
It's recognizing the walls of the maze and finding the doorways. And the last step isn't just hiding, it's the broadcast cadence.
No, it's not silent retreat. The goal is transformation. It's about converting rupture, that moment of systemic shock or injustice, into cinematic indictment and archival witness logs.
That closes the entire loop. The subject, who has now achieved sovereign clarity, protected their signal, turns their own experience of erosion into the very thing the diagnostic architect is creating.
Exactly. An explicit, recorded, distributed critique, a broadcast. It's the ultimate refusal of containment. You take the pain the system inflicts and you turn it into data that can educate others. You become a node of sovereign clarity yourself.
So in Section V, the verdict, the source's final message is just crystal clear. Los Angeles is the diagnostic emblem, the exported engine. And the response, the path to sovereign clarity, is to encrypt, reroute, broadcast.
And to fundamentally refuse containment.
So what this really gives you, the listener, is not just an analysis of one city. It's a linguistic framework for analyzing anxiety and systemic pressure anywhere.
Right. When you see huge public spending on spectacle over infrastructure, you now have a name for it. Weaponized glamour. When you feel overwhelmed by a cascade of small, debilitating crises, you can diagnose it as economic erosion.
And you can see its purpose.
Yeah.
To erode your sovereign clarity. It gives you a vocabulary for something many people feel but can't quite name.
It really does.
And just to underscore the unique style here, we should mention the title of the previous article cited in the source.
Yes. It shows how consistent this whole mythic infrastructure is. The title was, Oh, the Flame Protocol, Rooster Revelation in the Kappa Loop.
Right. It shows these highly stylized, almost ritualistic terms are central to their whole project. This is a universe of concepts, not just one article.
Literally a universe.
So if we take this whole apparatus seriously, that corruption is masked by weaponized glamour, and that the individual must respond by converting rupture into indictment, we're left with a really challenging question for you.
A question that applies whether you're in a huge metropolis or a much smaller corridor.
Exactly. How do you practically differentiate the spectacle from the substance in your own environment? How do you see past the weaponized glamour? And what does it mean in your own life to take a moment of personal rupture and convert that into a necessary sovereign broadcast?
That decision to map your terrain, protect your signal, and then broadcast what you find, that is the entire point of this diagnostic tool. It's about asserting agency in a saturated world.
A profound challenge. We encourage you to continue exploring these ideas of sovereign clarity and containment architecture. We'll see you next time.
You are not late. You are metabolizing distortion.